Second day of International Journalism Festival. Here we are in Perugia, Hotel Brufani, with Miss Alibhai Brown. Thank you for being our guest.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So my first question is, what's in your opinion the line between the objective journalism based on facts and the point of view of the journalist?
I think we should just stop pretending that we are, any of us, objective. You select the facts, you select the angle, and by selecting, you are already have an opinion. Okay? So, for example, I find it very hard now to be critical of Israel because immediately we're told that we're not being objective, that we are anti-Semitic. And maybe somewhere inside that might be true. You know, you begin to question this idea of objectivity. So we should just say we try our best, but we have views and we have histories, and that will be part of what you're reading. I think we should just be more honest, because I don't think we are objective. I don't think we can be.
How can be the journalists trustworthy if they just based on their history?
Well, for example, if I write about ISIS, right? I can't just be factual. I can't just give you numbers and names. I am a Muslim, so I have to say, I'm sorry, this is not the Islam I grew up with. I am more frightened of them than you, a non-Muslim, could ever be. Now, is that being objective or just adding something to the story? So I can give you numbers, it tells you nothing. But if I tell you I am a Muslim, and I'm telling you that these guys are not my life, they're not my faith, isn't that important to give you that information? Or is it just that I say ISIS killed 49 people and destroyed 13 statues?
Usually media tries to put the same word on who is a terrorist and is Muslim. It's like a synonym. What do you think about it? And if you think, I suppose, wrong about it, what's your solution?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think it is becoming a crime to be a Muslim, to travel as a Muslim, to eat in a restaurant as a Muslim. And Europe has a very bad history. Europe has a very bad history not that long ago when it was a crime to be Jewish. Okay? We should remember our history. But I know that there is a very serious problem with radical Islam. I know it is spread across the world, and the government which has spread it is Saudi Arabia. It started with 15 years ago. They have a project. They have started this project. And no European government, no US government, no Canadian government, no government is dealing with this problem. The virus comes from there. You pick on the suicide bombers, you can pick on their families. Where did it come from? This wasn't the Islam I grew up with, okay? This isn't what we were brought up to be. So if we don't deal with the central issue of Saudi Arabian relationships with us, then we're not interested in dealing with the problem.
Why, in your opinion, the US government or the UK government are dealing with Saudi Arabia?
There are none. Nobody's dealing with Saudi Arabia. Because, you know why? The oil and the money. Okay? If you look at Belgium, it's really interesting. In 1965, Belgium invited the first Moroccans to come and work in the mines. They came, their Islam was very different. They were Bedouin, they had their own way of worshipping. 1967, the King of Saudi Arabia comes for a state visit to Belgium, and he tells the government, I will help you. We will build a mosque. Okay? They built a mosque. They sent their imams. Those imams started brainwashing the Moroccans. What happened in Belgium those few weeks ago started with the Saudi Arabians. It's page after page after page after page. You can read it. The people who 9/11 bombers were all Saudi Arabians. So we went and killed the Iraqis.
Well, but you think this is the main causes? There are no other causes like lack of integration?
Well, Of course, but the lack of integration comes from the Saudis. These mosques are telling people, right, don't let your children play with non-Muslims. Don't marry non-Muslims. Cover your women. I wrote a book about refusing the veil because my mother's generation threw this thing off. Saudis have come into the mosque and said, you can't mix with them, you can't marry them, you cover yourself. Yes, it's the source of everything. Everything. And I'm not blaming the West only, because we Muslims have to think about how we allowed Saudi Arabia to get into our heads.
So my last question is completely different, but it's about the newspaper that you work for. There's the Independent that closed after 30 years, decided not to go on paper. Do you agree with this decision?
No, I don't agree with it, and I no longer have a job with them. I did 18 years as a columnist, and I think it was the wrong decision, because with the sister paper they were making money. This was a good model. They were making money, because the new newspaper came in, I can't remember, 12 years ago, and it took our articles and recycled them and in a very smart paper which the young loved. It was cheap. It was cheap enough. So the Russian owners sold which was the bit making money, and so we didn't have to die, and we died. So it's a very sad time for me, because I don't know what I will do next. I'm a journalist and I just don't know where I go next. But
thank you very much for your time.